good morning, or good afternoon wherever you are. Welcome to Technical Workshop number 2 in our Audiences and Analytics module, Building Digital Strategies and Interpreting Social Media Analytics, brought to you by the Digital Empowerment for Small Museums Project, a nationwide initiative organized by the 6 U.S. regional museum associations and dedicated to providing free, self-paced training resources for small museums. This inaugural series of online trainings focuses on digital media and technology topics, is made possible by funding from the Institute of Museum and Library Services. My name is Avery Shaughnessy Comfort. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm your host for today's program. My visual description includes, I am a white female with brown, short, wavy hair, wearing red glasses, and a white sweater. In the background are 2 windows, an off-white wall, and a bookcase. In this era of virtual meetings, when digital spaces may substitute for our physical sense of place, it is important to reflect on the land we each occupy and honor the Indigenous people who have called it home. I am speaking to you today from my home office located in Erie, Pennsylvania, the historical homelands of the Erie and Seneca peoples. Wherever each of us are located, let us acknowledge all Indigenous nations as living communities, their elders both past and present, as well as future generations. We, the Digital Empowerment Project for Small Museums, recognize that our organizations and those of our members were founded within a colonizing society which perpetuated the exclusions and erasures of many Native peoples throughout the United States and beyond. We ask you to reflect on the place where you reside and work, and to respect the diversity of cultures and experiences that form the richness of our world and our profession. And now it is my pleasure to introduce today's presenter, Acacia Berry. Acacia is the founder of Archaeological Analytics, a company that supports U.S. and Canadian cultural heritage on the web and on social media. She's a trained archaeologist with 15 years of experience doing fieldwork, managing collections, and creating public programming for the American Museum of Natural History, NYC's Landmarks Preservation Commission, and other cultural heritage firms in the tri-state area. Following her last job as a digital collections assistant in 2015, Acacia became a digital strategist and built Archaeological Analytics as a support network for cultural organizations and their digital assets. Today, Acacia will cover how digital strategies help organizations plan and execute their marketing approach on web and social media platforms, and how analytics can measure the success or failure of the digital strategy. So let's please welcome Acacia, and let's begin.
Yay! All right. Hi, everyone. I'm going to start the presentation. As you heard, my name is Acacia Berry, and I am very delighted to work with Museum Learning Hub to deliver this presentation. So let's get started. As you can see, we're going to be talking about building digital strategies and interpreting them via social media analytics. This is also can be used for web analytics. So, and then as you can see, it's going to be a lot of lovely transitions and video. As you heard, I am the CEO and founder of Archaeological Analytics. We do various types of things to support cultural institutions and individuals in the cultural sector. As you heard, I am an archaeologist first, and which should give you some sort of hope and inspiration that anyone can learn this stuff. I started out from scratch and worked my way into becoming pretty good at using digital tools to work to our advantage. Okay, so let's, sorry. Before we get started, let me go back. I am a Black woman with a lot of curly hair. I have a white background behind me. Not very exciting visually, but all right, let's get started. So I wanted to explain how this presentation is set up. We have 6 different topics, and they are color-coded. If you know anything about me, these are my favorite things: color coding, topics, and symmetry. So you'll see this. The topics will always be present so that if you're going back on this video and you're trying to figure out what area you need to focus on a little bit more, the topics will always be there. Sometimes they'll be highlighted depending on where we are in the presentation, and sometimes they won't. So you'll see how this works. That's the first slide. This is the first part of our presentation. What is digital marketing strategy? It's in orange, and we're going to cover two particular major topics and then smaller topics underneath. And this is how every section is going to be organized. Digital marketing is the first section. We're going to talk about the goals of drawing an audience, the process of drawing a digital audience, and then we're going to talk about marketing teams, the tasks that each person in the team or a single person should have, and the job titles. All right, so let's get started. Now, we're still in digital marketing strategy, and it's titled, What is Digital Marketing Strategy? So these are three definitions that we all want to think about, and it will be clear on how you should approach any digital marketing. First, I want to focus on the fact that what you're doing is marketing. Oftentimes that word gets muddled in nonprofits, and there's nothing wrong with it. You know, it doesn't have to be a negative word, but it's in fact what everyone is doing at all times. So marketing is ways in which one can draw audiences towards an organization's goal. I highlighted and underlined draw audiences to infer that everything you do is action, movement, meaning anytime you're doing any marketing, it should never be just for the sake of posting, in this case for social media. It should never be just for the sake of putting up a website. There should always be some sort of, we made something so that we can move traffic or audiences in this case. Digital marketing is simple. It's just drawing audiences from web and social platforms. Later on, we'll talk about the various sources in which traffic comes from towards your website. But in this case, we're going to focus on social media, as I mentioned earlier. And then strategy. Strategy is just a detailed plan of how you're going to draw audiences. Very simple. Well, not really. It's sort of simple. If you understand the concept of that you're drawing the audience, and then the rest of it is the various ways in which you do that. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay. Ooh, look at those transitions. All right. Goals for drawing digital audiences. So in case you're new to this whole digital game, or if you're at an institution and everyone's overwhelmed, start with this. These are three different goals, and they're super basic, but start with this and then work on the specifics for your institution, okay? Attract traffic is one goal, convert traffic is another goal, and return traffic is another goal. I use the word return, it's probably not the best word, but meaning how do we get people to come back? Okay, examples of attracting traffic, brand awareness, and expand your audiences, okay? These are the types of ways you can attract traffic. Convert traffic, the types of things you can do, obviously, is revenue. That is a conversion trait. Engagement, meaning likes, follows, things like that. That is another way to convert. Return traffic, like I said, how do you get customers to come back, meaning repeat buyers, or in other cases, getting people to return to your digital profile, your website, your social platform, any of those things. Okay, ooh, now we got moving arrows. Okay, the process of drawing digital audiences. So this is super important to think about. If you understand this, this actually outlines your digital plan, if you will, your digital strategy that we talked about earlier. I use the arrows to talk about the direction in which the process is happening. This is how audiences find you. There are referrals, there's SEO, and then there's social media. Referrals is usually referring to other sites that are linking back to your website. So that could be content references. That's what I'm talking about. Inbound links, meaning, they have text and then they highlighted it with a link. Link clicks, so someone actually clicking on that, and that would lead you toward, or that would lead a user towards a website goal. SEO, very similar, where the end is the website goal, but people are finding you using keywords on Google, possibly Bing, not really, on Google, right? They're using some sort of keyword search, various website content pops up. Hopefully it's yours, depending on what you wrote in that SEO. They'll click on the link and it'll bring them to some sort of website goal. Social, however, there are multiple processes that we have to consider. Stop scrolling is one of them, meaning if you think about what you just did probably 5 minutes before this presentation started, you were on Instagram, you were scrolling, right? We rarely start our social media process by going to a particular profile. We usually start with the scrolling of various profiles, right? The feed. What stops people from scrolling, as you probably already know because you do it yourself, is you see something that is visually stimulating or interesting. The next stage is then you might read it. The next part is if it was enough, if it was engaging enough, you'll like, share, possibly follow if it's a new profile. And even more difficult to do, particularly on Instagram, is to get someone to actually click on the link to continue their experience. So keep this in mind. We'll go back to this slide later. All right, now, if you're already overwhelmed, this is something to help you, particularly if you are, the entire marketing, if you're one person that's the entire marketing team, or you're 2 or 3 people. Organizing your marketing team can be in these 3 steps. Team 1 is brand identity. So someone that builds out the brand identity, which we'll discuss later. Team 2 is someone that actually makes the content and organizes it and schedules it. And team 3 is the person or the point in which you measure to see if your whole marketing strategy actually worked. Okay. The rest of the presentation is going to be about these 3 major steps. They're going to be broken up a little bit, but just keep that in mind. Whoo, look at that. More transitions. So here's an example of job titles, just in case you were trying to figure out who does what. Once again, assuming in some cases that you are a part of a department or you have multiple departments. This is also, for people who do the entire thing. So job titles for brand identity would usually be graphic designers, webmasters. Job titles for content management, the scheduling part, would be curators, educators, writers. Please note, not everyone is in the digital realm. Okay, curators, they probably are just writing, all right, but they produce content. And the analytics team could probably be the social media managers or strategists if you have anyone on staff. Social media managers could also be doing the content management and the scheduling in addition to the analytics as well. All right, so we're in a new section, build digital marketing strategy. This is I don't know what color blue this is, but it is a muted aqua blue. And we're going to cover 2 parts, brand identity and users. In brand identity, we're going to talk about building an information niche and style guide. And the user section, we're going to talk about audience demographics. So this is the first thing we're going to start with. This is not the part where you're publishing anything. This is the thought behind what you publish. Be clear about that. So information niche. This is super important. In the for-profit world, they call this branding. This is basically asking the questions, what makes you so special? If you're an institution, what makes your institution unique? Okay, here are some questions to ask yourself. What is your sector? What identify your institution's themes or topics? What is your institution's specialty? What is your mission statement? And then a note at the bottom, it says compare with similar institutions. This is also called competitive analysis in the for-profit world. I will show you examples later of how this would look if you filled out the answers. But You can come back to this later. So these are examples of style guide. I'm going to go back. First, this is about your information. The next part is style guide, which is about how are you going to visually portray what we just talked about in the first slide about your niche. So visual themes, the logo, colors, font, images, graphics, video, or 3D. How is that going to reflect the branding questions we just mentioned? Tone of voice. Are you going to be friendly, funny, personable, creative, authoritative, supportive? Once again, that also reflects what you write in the beginning. Grammar and format. Are you going to be informal? Formal? Are you going to use emojis? Are you going to have, giant caps and everything? Spacing, all these things. MLA and APA are referring to the formatting for citations. If you're going to be professional about how you cite things. Okay. User demographics. So in addition to the visual and the informative part of what you're thinking about and how you want to present yourself, you also have to consider who your user demographics could possibly be. Please note, I say possibly. All of this is a guess, right? You can make all the plans in the world. We're going to look like this. We're going to sound like this, but it may attract a group you didn't expect to attract. All right. So this is all a guess. If you want to figure out if you're attracting the right people, that's what analytics are used for. And we'll talk about that later. So examples of demographics to think about or that could possibly be attracted to your niche is, sex and gender, age, ethnicity, and you can see particularly age. This is how ages are organized for web and social media: 18 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to 55, 55 to 64, and 65 plus. I do want to point out with ethnicity, this could be the ethnic groups, racial groups, immigrants. Ethnicity could be its own category that ranges and adjusts depending on various things. We also have other user demographics like location, politics, language. Politics might jar you a little bit, but this is actually how we had all these issues in the last two elections, right? If you use specific words that are going to attract specific types of political groups, then it works. So just know you can use this for good or evil. Also think about other languages: bilingual, ASL, Russian, Chinese, Spanish, English, if you want to broaden your audience. And the last thing, location. Think about, I always shoot for multinational, international audiences, but you can also, consider countrywide audiences, statewide audiences. Local and regional are okay sometimes for social media, but oftentimes people want to expand. So you can try to combine the two, or you can do multiple. Okay, other user demographics, it keeps going. Education, relations, and income. All of these, believe it or not, are super personal, and you're probably wondering, how do they know? Believe it or not, anything you click on Facebook, anything you click on Google, anything you think of, if you're into conspiracy theories, they know. The entities know. And they, in fact, use this kind of data if you're doing paid advertisement. This stuff can be used to manipulate paid advertisements. If you want to attract people who are, homeschooling or high school or college, stay-at-home parents, single parents, things like that. The income is a little difficult, but sometimes they use recent purchases to determine income, believe it or not. Okay, so this is an example of how you would connect all the dots. If you were doing your, excuse the noise, I'm in Brooklyn. If you were doing any sort of combining all the things to build your digital marketing strategy. So there's niche, for example. You can be a science museum that focuses on astrophysics and has an observatory and has a particular telescope that focuses on particular planets, right? That's you figuring out, these are the things we can talk about. These are going to make us, these are the things that are going to make us unique. Style, we're going to use dark colors possibly because of the niche. High quality images, video cam. We're going to be authoritative, right? Because what we're talking about is this very serious science. We're going to use, MLA citations. Your potential user could be men, based on all those other things. Men between 34 and 45, men with graduate degrees, possibly working parents, possibly middle class. Now, this is where your potential user could be. And this is also where you can see, hey, how do we mix this up? If you want to, attract children of a certain age, then you may have to change the style. That's how this works, right? If you want to attract older people, then you may have to change something about the style. Okay. New topic here, plan digital marketing strategy. So what you see are two sections again. We're going to talk about the content, and then we're going to talk about the actual management. Of the content section, we're going to talk about types of content and call to actions. And of the management section, we're going to talk about organizing your staff, once again, even if you're a staff of one, and building a content management system, which is very important. Okay, so the types of content that we could possibly promote. This starts with you. This also starts with your goals. If you remember back in a couple slides back, we talked about goals. This is referring back to those goals. Brand awareness, you can use your mission statement as a type of content to do brand awareness, your information niche, range of offerings, your operations, your location. That's all brand awareness content. Events and products. I will say most institutions tend to focus on events and products, and I highly recommend that you mix it up. I'm very aware that everyone is struggling for the monies, but you don't want to oversell. Okay, you don't want to bore your own followers that are constantly engaging with your content. So examples of products that I'm sure you guys are very much aware of because you're probably doing this too: permanent exhibits, temporary exhibits, in-person events, virtual events, and your shop. Sometimes people leave out their shop, and I highly recommend that you promote that. Now, the most engaging content for users is information and stories. So things about your collections, some sort of knowledge base. If you're an expert in, a particular topic or subject, talking about your expertise. The history of the institution is sometimes very much interesting to people. The history of the area, that's another example of, focusing on local. Community issues, this is something that has increased in the last year, focusing on community issues. But like I said, I highly recommend that you mix it up, not just focus on events and products. All right, call to actions. I like to mix up call to actions between committal and non-committal call to actions. Call to actions is also abbreviated to CTA. If you ever see CTAs, that's what this is. So call to actions, actually, I'll go back. This is types of content would be the first part of your content, and the call to action would be the second part of your content if you were thinking about writing a post, right? So it would be, hey, this is a book that just got released, a little information about the book. And then the call to action for a committal would be buy this product, right? Hey, this is an event that's happening, little about the event, buy this ticket. And it goes on, visit us, donate money, join our community. Non-committal CTAs or call to actions would actually fit more into that info or story category that we talked about. Hey, this is what happened in 1847. If you like more of this content, like our profile, hey, this is such and so forth. Visit our website for more information or sign up for updates. Non-committal is basically, we're not trying to sell you anything, which, lowers people's agitation about, feeling like they have to give you money to participate or to engage with your content. Filling out surveys, or my favorite, saying nothing at all. Hey, 1847, isn't that interesting? Thank you for stopping by, kind of thing. Okay, Content management system. This is really important. So all the content that we just talked about and all the call to actions, where do you keep track of everything? Because that is very key in order to do analytics. Content management system keeps track of the content itself, where it's published, and when it's promoted. The where it's published meaning, did you only do Facebook, Instagram, not Twitter, things like that? And when it's promoted, obviously, the dates. Okay, back to this organizing your marketing team slide that we had earlier. So we have, once again, the team that deals with brand identity, usually the graphic designers and the webmasters, right? Everything is visual. The team that deals with the content and the managing and the scheduling, usually it's the curators, the educators, the writers, the event planners. And then the team that focuses on the tracking and measuring of the analytics, usually the social media managers and strategists. If we're thinking about the process of creating content, ooh, look at that. It switches, if you noticed. The production of the production of the content is actually first. So that would be the second team. They actually do the process. They start the process of creating the content. Then the content is published, usually on some sort of website or other hosting platform, which is team one, the people that do all the visual stuff. Then it goes to the promotion part, which is the social media managers and the strategists, okay? More transitions. Now, if we want to break down the process of creating and creating content so that it can be promoted, it would be produce, publish, and promote. So examples of production: the one who organizes the events, the one who writes the blog articles, the one that creates the videos or podcasts, all right? Normally, these people focus on their own software, their own specific software. They have their own skill sets. The publishing part, the graphic designers, the content uploaders, the webmasters, these people are the ones that figure out and should be aware of how users are going through their site, okay? So they're responsible for the placement of all the content that's produced. This next part is important, is the promotion. Usually you want to make sure that the things are published first, because the whole point of promotion, remember, is to move traffic. So and for most cases, you're trying to move traffic back to your website or whatever publishing platform you're on. So you kind of want to wait until the stuff is actually published so that you have a link that you can reference when you're promoting it. The promoters do the social media scheduling, the newsletter publishing, right? Everything that drives traffic back to the website. And the social media engagement coordinator, which is someone who is in the comments, following, liking other, sharing other content on social media and things like that. And lastly, we're going to talk about what that content management system looks like. This is an example. It's a very simple example of what a content management system could look like. If you visit the company website, we have templates that are a little bit more detailed than this, but this is what, and all the different teams that we talked about, all should be using the same system. Everyone on the same system, everyone working on the same kind of content. I believe this is when we'll take a break. I will sip on my tea so we can wait for. I almost said if you have any questions, but okay. I hope we have switched out interpreters by now. Okay, so all that planning, all that building leads us to the actual implementation of the digital marketing strategy, okay? Implement means now we're going to do it. So there's two parts of the doing it. Organic content strategy, which I will talk about, compared to paid, and understanding the social formats. So this part is where the skill set comes into play. There are technical issues when it comes to actually publishing things on websites. There are minor technical issues for the producers of content. But if you are the person that is in charge of the promotion, these next 3 sections are for you. This is where things can get technical, and this is where your expertise is key. Okay, let's get started. Types of social promotion. There's organic content, and then there's a paid campaign. The terms can vary, but just know there's organic and paid. Organic content means you choose the publishing platform, and I'll explain the difference. Standard channel format. We'll talk about formats in a second. Strategic use of channel features. That is where the strategy comes into play. And the outcome is you get a range of audiences because you're in control of the levers, if you will. Paid campaigns are very tricky, and Facebook, Meta, is they've made paid campaigns, particularly on their site, extremely difficult to understand, and I think on purpose. Paid websites are set up to look like, set it and forget it. However, if you pay attention to all the details as to the levers you can adjust on paid campaigns, it tends to focus on very limited outcomes, which is the end point that I have at the bottom. Different publishing tools have different, each social media channel has a slightly different way of how they do the paid campaign publishing. So you would have to know each channel's publishing tool. It usually offers you a different post format than what the standard channel format is for organic post. Sometimes it's in card form, or they make something bigger or bolder, or you can have different video settings. The key part is they find specific audiences for you. So that means that you can choose the kinds of audience. You can say, I want all of the US, all of Canada. Remember the other demographics I talked about? I want only women between 34 and 45. You can totally do that, but you can only, the more specific you are, the better it will perform. And that's the key part about paid campaigns. The more specific you are, the better it will perform. But you would have to know the specificities. That's not a word. the specifics to make it work in your favor. All right. So let's focus on organic strategy because no one really has any money. and this is a much easier way to go about it. All right. The 3 things you want to think about for organic content is consistency, frequency, and deep level. This is something I tell clients every day. If you're consistent, you'll have some sort of positive outcome. If you settle on a frequency, how often you're posting. So the consistency is, you have standardized when you're going to post. You stick to a schedule, you pick a time, you pick a day. The frequency is, are we going to do 3 days a week? Are we going to do 5 days a week? Are we going to do 7 days a week? Are we going to do post twice a day, 4 times a day? That also makes a difference as to what your results will be. Then there's the deep level activity. This is very key to understand. All the social media channels know that a lot of people use scheduling software for consistency and frequency. And like I said, over time, you'll get some sort of results, but you really get rewarded, if you will, if you are active within the channel. So liking other content, following other accounts, sharing other content, comments within the links, comments with links. So you're going through maybe a hashtag and someone says, I'm looking for a science museum. Oh, here you go, right? And you add the link. So that is key, the deep level stuff. If you don't have time, you can let go of the deep level stuff and just keep the consistency and frequency using some sort of scheduling software. We'll talk about the various types. This is also key, knowing the social formats. So social formats for almost every channel, and we'll talk about the difference, is usually either image or video, the copy or the caption, whatever you're writing, the link, and the hashtags. Please don't forget the link. A lot of people leave that out because remember, this is all about movement. You don't want people to not move. You don't want to tell people stuff and then they don't go anywhere. Okay. Oh, look at that. Now we'll talk about the social format per channel. So because some elements of that social format do not work in your favor, and sometimes they do. In Facebook/Meta, obviously there are various types of image video options. However, hashtags don't perform as well in this particular channel. Then there's Twitter. Twitter, very limited with the videos, very limited with the image ratio. So you can't just have any kind of image ratio with Twitter without it looking bizarre. Facebook, they don't care. The copy, very limited amount of characters you can use. Facebook, they say, hey, you want to write a book? No problem. There is a limit on the character, but the character counts, but it's so long, it doesn't even matter. The link is fine, and hashtags really perform well on Twitter. Instagram, it gets really deep with the images and video. You have the most range in how you can use images and video. Obviously, the copy is standard, but you cannot add a link to the copy, the caption. So in this case, you would have to do some sort of link in bio. And I'll stop there because that can get deep. And hashtags work very well in this channel. Okay, and then YouTube, obviously it's video only. You can have some sort of description copy, and the link can be found in various places, not just in the copy like Twitter and Facebook. The links can be found in descriptions, which is the copy, cards, little things that can get added to the video, and end screens. So anyone who's been on YouTube, at the end of a video, sometimes they have follow us here, continue, watch this other film type of thing. That's an end screen. And hashtags don't perform as well on YouTube. Okay, so connecting the dots on implementing your digital strategy. So think about the timing, consistency, frequency, and then the actual activity you're doing on the social media platform to give you to level up, if you will. Think about the format and think about taking advantage of each channel's strengths, okay? So some cases, the image or the video options range pretty wide. In other cases, the hashtags are very powerful and such and so forth. All right, new section, we're almost there. Key performance indicators, otherwise known as KPIs, which you see on the side, social KPIs. Okay, so examples of key performance indicators, what is being measured and defining the numbers, and then social KPIs, looking at the 4 channels that we've mentioned before, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Okay, so KPIs are the elements that determine the success of your digital marketing campaign. KPIs are directly related to the process of drawing audiences. All right, so once again, we're back to this old slide here, referring to how audiences go through, find you. All right, referrals is usually other websites. SEO is usually through some sort of Google, possibly Bing search, and then social, which we're focusing on. Look at that smoothness. Social media experience. Okay, remember, it's stop the scrolling, looking at an image, possibly reading the caption, then some sort of like, share, follow, and then the big one, link clicks. Now, if I said that KPIs are are the elements of the experience, this is how this matches. If you're looking for KPIs, or if you're trying to understand on your analytics which things are KPIs, they're usually labeled reach, views, and engagement. The terms vary, but it's usually one of these 3 in this area. Reach is usually referring to they stopped scrolling and they looked at the image. Views is they read the caption, and engagement is they liked, shared, followed, or clicked on a link. Look at the smoothness. All right, so if we were comparing the KPIs on each channel for Facebook, they use this. So this is very much about the terms that they're using, so you don't get confused, because each channel uses slightly different terms, but they all mean the same thing. In case of Facebook and Meta, when they say reach, it means reach. When they say page views and profile visits, they're talking about the actual views. So people stopped and looked at the image or read the caption. When they're talking about engagements, they call it actions on page, likes, reactions, comments, shares, and link clicks. Now, if we go to Twitter, their reach is called impressions. All right, which also means they stopped scrolling. Their profile visits, it's called, some sort, it's the same as views, and it's probably after they saw something, they visited your profile to see more content, to see the range of your content. Engagement rate and engagement type are the terms that Twitter uses to refer to engagement. And that's just like I said before, replies, likes, retweets, link clicks, followers, all those things are considered engagement. Now things get extra complicated when we get to Instagram. So right off the bat, Instagram has reach or profile views to determine the reach KPI, impressions to determine views, and interactions to determine engagement. Okay, now, oh no. What's all this? Interactions range depending on the format. So we talked about the formats in the last area. Now we're going to talk about the formats for a particular channel. And you can see how this breaks down even more. Depending on the format you use to post something on Instagram, you're going to get different interaction KPIs. So different elements that are being measured. Post interactions, so likes, saves, and comments. That's what they call it for images. Profile interactions, email button taps, call button taps, business address taps. Then if we're doing stories, it gets extra complicated. So this is still all interactions, but now for stories. Story interactions, did they move forward? Did they, next story, did they do follows? Did they exit? Did they go back in the story? Content interactions. Did they share the content? Did they reply? Did they click a link? Profile interactions after they watched the story. Did they tap on a website? Did they do a text tap button? Email buttons, call buttons, business address buttons. Okay, anything when they watch the story, what did the person do? If you're doing reels, those can turn into post interactions, which is comments, likes, saves, reach. Reels interactions, plays, and shares. And if you're doing video, oh Lord, there's video interactions, the average percentage of people who watched it, video views, video interactions, post interactions, likes, shares, comments, follows, profile interactions, the same as, a lot of button taps. And we're not done because we still have Instagram Live. Same thing, post interactions, comments, shares, reach. Live video interactions, peak concurrent views, meaning how many people watched at the same time. All of those things are analytics. All of those things are analytics. Those are the names of the analytics. But now you know what they're actually measuring. It's the engagement. If we're thinking about the whole process, it's the engagement. Here's YouTube. They're no better. So they call reach views, they call views impressions, and they call engagement comments, likes, and dislikes. Okay. So with reach, and I just want to be clear, this is for YouTube videos, not your YouTube profile page. The actual page has its own analytics, which we're going to skip today. For reach, they're looking at post views, total views, unique viewers, traffic sources, external suggested videos, YouTube research. So where did your traffic come from to watch this video? For impressions, they're looking at audiences, watch time for viewers, returning viewers, unique viewers, subscribers. They're also looking at demographics. There's that word again: top geography, age, gender, top subtitles. They're also looking at interactions in a very unique way. Audience retention, watch time, average view duration, post interactions, likes, dislikes, card clicks, link clicks, end screen element clicks. So you'll see some of the formatting is popping up, right? I tell you, the format makes a difference. Okay, almost home. I hope I'm not rushing through this, but we have very limited time. Now, this is key. First, we implemented the using format. We implemented the social media post. All right. We know that the format we use affects the kinds of engagement and other things that could possibly happen. Now we're at the, okay, numbers have been produced. Analytics, where to find the numbers and deciphering the numbers, and then solutions. What do you do once you see those numbers? The analytic scenarios we're going to cover, and adjusting the strategy. Very key. So what you don't want to do is produce a plan, find the results of the plan and then just go, that's nice. You want to actually adjust it so that it works in your favor. Okay. All right. Find the analytics. So I would love to go through and show you where to find all these different numbers, but unfortunately we don't have that much time. Just know that there are various ways in which you can find your analytics. You can either go into the actual social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, have their own sections where they keep track of their analytics. If you're using a scheduling software to keep up that consistency and frequency, i.e. Buffer, Hootsuite, Sprout, Later, or anything like that, they also have their own analytics that you don't have to pay. They have basic analytics that are, part of whatever your plan is. If you're using a website platform, WordPress, Squarespace, Drupal or Wix, not that I like Squarespace. Anyway, they also show you some analytics. Oftentimes they're showing you the source of where your traffic's coming from, depending on the social media platform. So it's a little limited, but the most detailed analytics you'll get, obviously, is from the social media platform. Okay, now deciphering them. Remember those goals we talked about in the beginning of the process? Attract traffic, convert traffic, or return traffic. So that also goes according to the process in which people people engage with your social media. So if, for example, if you're trying to attract traffic, you're focused on getting people to stop scrolling, to look, to read. That has a lot to do with the original plan of your branding, right? Anyone in charge of the branding or doing all the branding stuff, they are very much dealing with the first process of the social media experience. For converting traffic, it's all about shares and link clicks, not really likes. The shares and the link clicks. Shares means that you're expanding your audience, right? Other people are seeing your stuff because someone's sharing it to their channel or their people. Link clicks back to your website. So that very much has something to do with the content. Returning traffic, that deals with followers. So people who like your stuff and you want to keep them from coming back. You want to keep them coming back, not from coming back. You want to keep them coming back. That has very much to do with the strategy of what you're doing or saying, right, to get them to come back. All right, check it out. Here we go. Whoa. When I told you transitions, I meant it. Okay, so if we're looking at the goal of attracting traffic, it would be some sort of, we want them to stop scrolling, look and read, which very much has to do with the branding. And your results of all your analytics was low reach, low impressions. So now we know what those terms means. The possible reasons for those low numbers could be the visuals weren't dynamic, the format was not appealing, or the copy was not engaging. Okay, very much about the visuals and a little bit about the writing style. We talked about that, right? So now you know where to go back and make those adjustments. Solution, adjust your visual theme, adjust your tone of voice possibly, or your grammar, or the format. All right. Now you know how to match your goals, look at the results, figure out what part of that tiny process may have been off. It could be multiple things. It could be one. It takes some time to figure out, if you pick the right thing. But that's the fun part about analytics. So if your goal was to convert traffic, which is all about sharing shares and link clicks, which is really about the content. The content, was very good, but you got low post engagement, right? So people weren't clicking, people weren't sharing, maybe you got a couple of likes, but it wasn't happening here. Possible reasons: the content wasn't interesting. Sometimes that happens. So you may have to change your branding again. No call to action. This happens a lot. You just said in 1846, and then that was it. Or you didn't provide a link for people to find out more about 1846. Or my favorite is the link is in the wrong place, which happens a lot, particularly on Twitter. When people do those multiple posts for stories, they put the link in the last part, even though most people are seeing the first part of your Twitter post. All right. Find better topics for a solution. Find relatable content. Standardize the format to include links and hashtags. These are all the things that you can fix to possibly improve low post engagement. And the last one, I believe, is if we're doing goals that are about returning traffic, getting followers and things like that, and you have a low follower count, the possible reasons could be the algorithm. That's a big one. If you are on Facebook, you know that you only see about 20 friends, even if you follow hundreds. Facebook does that. It's terrible. There are little tricks where you can, not really, they pretty much keep you in the 20 people section. Instagram also, they like to mess with algorithms so that people don't see you. Sometimes that's a move towards you buying ads. Let's just be clear. Not using the best hashtags. That's a big one. Sometimes you have to adjust your hashtags. Not consistent with your posting. That's a real big one. I tell you, frequency and consistency is a big, big issue. Or you're not engaging with the platform. And that was that deep social strategy that I was talking about, the deep social engagement that I was talking about. So solution, buying paid ads, buy the paid campaigns to, appease the gods, if you will. Hashtag research, looking at hashtags that might work better in your favor. Using a scheduling platform, spending 15 minutes liking, sharing, and commenting right within the different platforms. These are other solutions that you can use to improve that. Okay, last slide. We got it. We got there. If we're trying to figure out what everything I just said means, this is an easy way to connecting the dots. Okay, the what is social digital marketing strategy? I'm really asking, what are we promoting? All right. The build digital marketing strategy, I'm really asking, how does it look? The stuff that we're promoting, how does it look? Plan digital marketing strategy, what does it say? The implement means where and when we promote it. The track digital marketing strategy is asking, did the plan work? And the measuring digital marketing strategy is saying maybe yes and great, most likely no, and how do you adjust it? And then you repeat the process. So analytics is something that consistently happens. It never stops. There's always something to improve, but now you have the wherewithal to know how to make the adjustments here and there, because that's what it's all about, making small adjustments. Thank you for watching. And special thanks to Museum Learning Hub. And if you want to follow any of our channels, we do a lot of digital cultural heritage promotions to celebrate all the institutions that are putting a lot of incredible content out, but it doesn't get seen. And so we have American Artifacts blog and Open Artifact to boost their profile a little bit as a celebration. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Acacia.
Oh my God. I'm out of breath.
Jesus. Take a breath, take a drink of tea. Lots of really, really good information, and you've done a fantastic job at going really in depth in such a short amount of time. So Since we only have a couple minutes left
I'm
here, I
sorry.
will very much, no, it was good. It was good. No need to apologize. I will definitely encourage you, if we don't get to your question, please make use of that forum on our website. We can use that for reference and for posting questions and responses.
Or they can contact me directly. It's fine.
All right. So the probably most pertinent question for you, Acacia, is what is your number one piece of advice for museums with smaller, limited staff to better interpret the content of analytics so that they can plan marketing strategies and better manage their own social media?
Well, I provided several examples of how to, especially if you're a one-person team or, a three-person team, stick to the content management system because that's the best way to track everything. And you can add your analytics to those content management systems. But if you have something that you're tracking that you can see and watch, right, and make those small adjustments, it makes it easier. So always have that record that everyone has access to.
I think that's key, having access to everything.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And as a follow-up to this, this person asks, how has the way people use social media platforms changed over the last 5 years? And can you briefly touch on how people have been using different platforms, either more or less? Are some apps better than others that reaching certain?
Oh my God, that's a whole nother presentation.
It certainly could be.
All right. So obviously, TikTok is hot for a particular age, right? And because TikTok is hot, Instagram is making adjustments, Facebook is making adjustments, right? They're adding stories and whatever fun little reels and, things like that. The big rule of thumb is video always works. Video is king. In our case, for some of our platforms, sometimes even multiple images outperform, single images, but it depends on the audience, right? It depends on, whatever audience you're trying to attract. If it's older people, right, they probably don't want all the, so, you know what I mean? So it really depends. It depends on your audience first, and then understanding how that audience interacts with those platforms or where they are, right? Because older people tend to be on Facebook, moms, Facebook, right? Sometimes Instagram, intellectuals, Twitter,
Well, I guess stemming off of this, there's another question that says, I get that platforms want you to post frequently because that drives their business model. But how about your audiences? Are there ways to measure how frequent it's appealing to your audiences? Where's the tipping point of where it gets annoying?
You'll see it. You'll see it in the engagement, right? So, and also the time. Big piece, the time of day. So sometimes, let's say you used we're going to post 3 times a day plan, right? And you notice that your 8 a.m. post, doing great. The 12, p.m. post, or the 3 p.m. post might, and it could be backwards. If you notice that the multiple posts aren't performing as high as if you just posted once, then you got to slow it down. If you are trying to build an audience and you decide to space it out, but you notice that there's some, maybe we could, add more posts throughout the week because they're quick to engage with it, right? You get a lot of likes right off the bat. Then I would up it, but you'll see the numbers dip. But that's, once again, it's the adjustment, right? You start with one plan and then you see the results and you're like, uh-oh, go back the other way.
Absolutely. Lots of fine tuning. Mm-hmm. And our last question, since we're coming up on the hour, but I'm going to ask it because it could be another webinar. What is your recommendation for Instagram and links in posts or stories?
Man. Yeah, because I said, I'm gonna stop there. Please listen to me carefully. Instagram is a visual platform. So that means the image or the video trumps everything. If you have a user who likes something in the scroll, continues to your profile, right, and clicks on the link in the bio, it is not helpful because they remember the image. right? They remember the video. It is not helpful to have Linktree. I'm calling you out, right? The list of links that you have to read and, and figure out, now what did I read in the caption to figure out what the, where the post might be? That's horrible. I highly recommend using some other software like Later or anything similar to that uses the same image. So if you go to link in the bio, you'll see like a copy of the social media, of your social profile, your Instagram profile, and it's the same images. That is literally how they remember where to go. So if they saw I saw the image of the orange in the scroll, I went to your profile, I clicked on the link, there's that same image. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to take me to, whatever the content is that has something to do with this orange. It's much easier to do if they use the image or the video than if they're having to read millions and millions of links that most likely you did not update. So please stop doing it.
Well, very wonderful advice, and I couldn't resist not asking that question. So thank you for answering. All right. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time for today, so we will wrap up with our closing remarks. But as I mentioned, please continue to that forum, and we will be sure to answer your questions in that space. So once again, thank you all for attending today's program, and thank you again to Acacia Berry for a wonderful presentation. If you enjoyed this program, please do us a favor and share it with your network. We really appreciate your participation, and we do hope to see you at future programs. Stay tuned to museum-hub.org for more information on upcoming events. Here's your final reminders. Please remember to visit the forum on our website to ask questions, and join us for using analytics to understand audiences and optimize your efforts with presenter Dana Allen Greel, Vice President of Marketing at the Monterey Bay Aquarium in Monterey, California. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Stay well, and we hope to see you on Thursday.